Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Thoughts from a Dystopian World. And today we're going to delve into the Beast Mode monster, also known as the Restitution Robot. Yes, this thing is Beast Mode. I really love this thing. This thing brings a lot to the table in terms of firepower and capabilities, and it does attract a lot of attention on the table. Now the Restitution Robot is, Dreadnought Robot that is just huge. If you've seen in the initial picture, this thing towers over all of the models. Basically, it's almost like in a level 1 when it comes to looking over everything. This thing's monstrous. Now, it comes in at 300 points. Initially, that's your base cost when you want to bring one of these things into the game. So you're looking at Dreadnought style points. But, you know, it brings a lot of attention and a lot of firepower. Now, it does have an elite crew, so they hit on 3s, defend on 3s. And if you get anywhere near them, they are going to smash you like a bug. It is a massive armored capital surface skimmer, so it just basically flies over top of terrain, you know, in most modes. And, well, it's got some good movement too. It has minimum movement of 0, so it can basically, it's like a massive Iron Man model. It has a 360-degree turn, so you just turn this thing on a dime and go wherever it wants to. It has a 0 turn limit, so yep, it just turns, and you can only bring one at a time. And, well, at 300 points, you're probably only going to bring one. But, you know, you pair this thing up with a Dreadnought, boy, you got a lot of firepower coming your way. Now, it has a DR and a CR of 9 and 12, so that's pretty respectable. So that means it's going to take a little bit of firepower to do a point of damage or a CR on this thing. So yeah, it can stand up to a lot of firepower coming its way. It has a movement of 7, which is not slow, it's not fast, but you know, it's a skimmer. If you look at the model, it's basically got little jets coming out of its feet. You just kind of skims over the battlefield. It has 10 hull points, which is really good. It does a nice job of surviving for a period of time. It has 12 assault points. Yes, 12. It carries around a large crew to make this thing work, but the crew per se doesn't necessarily do a boarding action. We're going to find out what this actually does in the game. It has 6 a ACAC for taking on anything that's coming its way when it comes to like rockets and stuff like that, or boarding action. It has 6 concussion charges, which is not bad. So it makes it a little harder to do some damage with like torpedoes and mines and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not a lot. But if you throw some of those little escort robots with this, it does a little bit better. And it has a RAM rating of 8, so if somebody happens to bump into this thing or it bumps into somebody, it's going to do some severe damage to you, one way or the other. Now, it does have 2 shoulder-mounted rocket batteries. Yes, 2, one on each shoulder. It has, you see the weapons in there on the wrist-mounted Colt cannons are red because those are optional, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit here. It also has capability with the standard mode. When you bring this thing in, we'll have a Carter rocket hammer as its standard weapon system. So yes, when it comes walking onto the table, it's basically the only weapons it's going to have for 300 points are the 2 shoulder rocket batteries, which are pretty respectable in themselves. Alright, let's just discuss the model assign rules, which go with this. Most of this goes with the Carter rocket hammer. it's all terrain. So if you have to make a terrain test, you basically get to re-roll one of your results, which makes it a little easier to go over some dangerous terrain. It's, you know, gives you a little bit of throwback capability to avoid being, you know, having problems. Now, it has the crushing impact boarding action only, which means if this Dreadnought Robot comes in contact as a assault against a, let's say you got a cruiser, which is a 4-6 cruiser, the crushing impact means that it only has to look at the DR when it's doing its boarding action. So basically it's taking its big giant massive hammer and feet and stuff and just pummeling the poor ship into the turf, basically sinking it under the water practically. So when you have to worry about the DR, the assault points, this is where it comes in. You have 12. So you're rolling 12 dice against this poor little cruiser, and you only need going against the DR of 4. So with 12 dice, and this thing is elite. Now think about that. So it hits on 3s. So the odds are you're probably going to do a whole bunch of damage against this this target that you're going against. Now you have hull breaker. If by chance you do the equivalent of a CR on it, you do D3 extra damage. So you look at it, it's like, okay, I get the CR equivalent, so I'm doing that extra damage, and I'm doing an extra D3. So you're going to have the 2 damage that you normally take with the CR, plus an additional D3 with hull breaker. So the odds are you can just with one swing of your hammer in a close attack against a target, like say a cruiser, you can put that thing under the water. Yep, just one smash. Yeah, that's pretty nasty when it comes to that rocket hammer. So that's something to think about. Now, it has rugged construction of 2, which means if you're throwing 6 dice at it from your attack, you got to subtract 2. So the odds are that 6 now becomes 4. So you're gonna have to, with your 4 dice, have to do at least 9 points to even get 9 hits to be able to do 1 point of damage. It has sustained fire with the Colt cannons only of 3. Well, that's not bad. So you have 2 of those Colt cannons. If you do use them, you get to re-roll 3 of the dice. So you're doing pretty good. It also has terrifying with its boarding action. Terrifying means that you got to make 2 successful rolls. You roll 3 d6, and you have to have a 4 or better on 2 of those dice to be able to not have problems. Which means if you do fail it, you can't link fire with anybody in your squadron if you have to be within a squadron or anything. Or if you say you did this attack against a battleship, you can't link your weapons together into a system. They have to fire each turret separately. So that helps out a lot. Now, this model has some options, which are, it does have a internal shield generator of 3, which is pretty good. So if somebody's sending something at your way, you say the rockets, you get to shoot down the rockets as they're coming in with your ACAC, and then you have 3 dice to toss at it to knock down whatever may have successfully hit you. So the odds are this thing could do a good job of knocking down any damage coming its way. And the same way, if you have direct fire weapon systems coming in, like some cannons from a battleship or dreadnought or cruiser squadron, and let's say they hit you with 9 hits and you roll your 3 and you get your successes, let's say 2 of them, but a 4 and a 6, you just knock down 3. So you just went from having 1 point of damage against this robot to nothing. So that's the nice thing about the Shield Generator 3. Now, here we go. This model may remove the Carter rocket hammer and replace it with a pair of Colt mounted cannons for an additional 50 points. So, for 350 points, you get these wrist-mounted Colt cannons. So basically, these things are just nasty. Yeah, pretty nasty weapon systems. No matter how you look at it, they shoot out there and just hammer somebody really hard at a long distance. Now, let's just talk about the weapon system now. We got the Carter rocket hammer. This crushing weapon delivers a series of blows to its target, smashing it to a pulp. The Restitution may roll a D6 when determining the effects of its hull breaker MAR rather than D3. Yeah. In addition to rather using the hammer in melee, so basically, like your hull breaker, if it's just with the, if you got it with the Colt cannons and the shoulder rocket battery, so it shoots everything and then it comes up. Basically, it can drop kick somebody, and that's the D3 extra damage from the hull breaker. If you're using the Carter rocket hammer, you use a D6, so it does up to 6 points of damage. So basically, if you do a CR on somebody, you can do up to 8 points of damage. So you can, in one smash attack with that hammer, take out a battleship. Let that sink in. This thing is nasty. You don't even want to get near you. In addition to rather using the hammer in melee, the Restitution can elect to smash the ground in front of it, causing all... Now, this is where it's on if you're using it in a armor squadrons on land. So this is a land or water type of robot, so you can use it pretty much anywhere you want to. It can elect to smash the ground in front of it, causing all armored squadrons within 12 inches to take an immediate morale test. Friendly squadrons, FSA squadrons, are forewarned and can re-roll a single die if desired. So you got to roll 3. You got to make a morale test, so you have to roll 3d6. You have to have at least one success, a 4+, when you roll those 3. Friendly squadrons may re-roll one of those 3 dice. Okay. So if they failed with those 3 of not getting one, you get to re-roll it. So it's, but if you fail your morale test, you can't link your squadron can't link weapon systems together. You can't do boarding actions and that kind of stuff. So if you have the rocket hammer and you're playing on land, you get close to enemy squadrons instead of smash. It's like, hey, I can't melee with anybody yet, so I'm going to crush the ground and force everybody in the area to possibly not be able to link up, which is in your benefit. Hey, why not? Now, you have, if you go with the extra 50 points, you get the Colt wrist cannons. The Restitution may often field with a pair of wrist cannons. A new innovation from the Springfield Armories, yes, the Springfield Armories of Illinois, that is capable of firing naval-grade ordnance at incredible velocity. These things are what you call beast mode. They shoot out at long range and have a ton of dice. And there's 2 of them, so they don't have to link together. A lot of times when I've used this thing, it's like, I'm not linking them together. I'm going to shoot this unit here and blast the heck out of it. I'm going to shoot that unit over there and blast the heck out of it. So, hey, what's not to love? Now, the weapon systems on board, both of them, the shoulder rockets have a 270-degree arc along with the wrist cannons. So there's basically no place around that you can't shoot somebody. Yeah, because a 270-degree arc is like from your front of your left side all the way to your rear, and then it goes from the other side, from your right side front all the way to your rear. So you got overlapping areas in the front, and then you have the direct line directly behind the model. So if anything fixed channel behind the model, you can still hit them. So there's not many places you can hide away from one of these things and not get hit with both weapon systems at the same time, linked together or separately. So pretty good. Now, the Carter rocket wrist cannons basically have they have some extra shooting modes, which are kind of interesting here. We'll talk about. The one mode is quick shooter. This model gains close quarter gunnery and doubles the sustained fire value to 6 when firing range band 1. So basically, close quarter gunnery gives you a +1. So you can ignore the +1 modifier. The P, primary weapon systems, they hit on a 5 or 6 at range band 1. But with close quarter gunnery, you have a +1, so you hit on a 4, 5, or 6. And your sustained fire is doubled to 6 in range band 1. So if somebody happens to get close enough where you want to blast them with the cannons in front, you're throwing a bucket load of dice at them. So basically, I would do is like, I'm going to fire my wrist cannon at this guy here in range band 1. I'm going to fire my wrist cannon at this guy at range band 1. And they're going to get hammered with a ton of dice. And then you just say, all right, I pick up 6 that didn't hit, and I can re-roll them. And you got a 50% chance of getting those dice to come back with hits. So you can really tear somebody a new one with that mode. But you have to not move, basically. So if they stand there and they just like, there you go. Then, well, I guess that one you can move. But the marksman model, which is the other mode, shoots out to range band 4. And it gains a +1 to hit and can shoot submerged and obscured flying without penalty. So if you see a submerged, can't even talk, or a target that's high in the sky, you get a +1 to hit them. And if it's stationary. So that is a lot of dice coming their way. So basically, it's something that it works really good for taking out submarines, especially if you're facing individuals that carry or using submarines or like to keep their flyers up high in the sky. You can knock those things down and do some good damage to them or take them out. So that is, a really good weapon system. This thing it attracts attention. Let's just put it that way. There's no way to hide this thing on the table because it is so big. Now, let's just talk about the weapon system. Now, we got the shoulder-mounted rocket batteries to go out to range band 4, have 10 dice. So you have 2 of them. So if you link them together, you can throw 15 at somebody or put 10 here, 10 there. Depending on your target. You may want to fire them separately at 2 different targets, or you may want to link them together. So if you got somebody that's got, say, a Sky Fortress that's out there at range band 4 and it's in range, hey, why not? Throw 15 dice at them, just give them a world of hurt. It works pretty good. Now, if you get into range band 3, that's 12 or 18. Wow, that's a lot of dice. And then if you have range band 2, you're looking at, what, 23 dice? That is, like I said, this thing can throw bucket loads of dice. If you see one of these things coming at you, you're going to be like, oh my God, this thing's got to die. And in one way, if everybody's firing at this, trying to take it down, that means everybody else is like skating. And they're just like, okay, go ahead, try to knock it down. But you're ignoring everybody else, and this thing will turn around and just hammer you hard. And if you happen to get into that front range where you're looking at range band 1, oh boy, you're looking at 27 dice? Oh, yeah. And it's a tertiary weapon, so you don't have to worry about that -1 at range band 1. So on a 4+, 27 dice. The odds are 27 dice, you're going to have at least probably 5 6s in there, and maybe half of those are going to hit with the other half. So you're looking at, see, about maybe 16, 20 hits. Yeah. Or something's not going to be living very long. It's going to be hurting. Now you got the risk cannons. These things, now remember, you get sustained fire on these things, so you get to re-roll 3 of the dice with these risk cannons if you spend the extra 50 points. And I'm always probably going to use spend the extra 50 to throw the cannons on, because that is just a lot of firepower for 50 points. So basically, you're looking at 17 dice at 11 or 17 in range band 4, at range band 3. You're looking at 20, and at range band 2, you're looking at 23, and then you're looking at 27. And if somebody happens to get into close, and you want to say your only target that's in around, say, happens to be a dreadnought, then you could probably get away with throwing 18 and 18, or you could just throw all 27 at it. And if you had moved, you get to re-roll 6 of them with the sustained fire. This thing, like I said, is a beast. And that's why I've left it for the end. This is going to be the last of the Federated States of America. And it is something that I really like to take into a game. You know, basically, how do you use it? It's one of those models where I just put it in the center of the map of your formation, and then go forward with it and just start hammering things. As you got your frigates and your corvettes on the flanks trying to, and maybe a little bit of screening going on. And being that this thing is a massive robot, massive armored capital surface skimming robot. That's the full name for it. It can look over everything, except for I think dreadnoughts are might be the ones in, you know, massive capital ships with block line of sight. But typically, if you got cruisers and all that kind of stuff out front, this thing's going to be looking over top of them and basically crushing everything in its path. So there's not a way to really screen this thing. So it's going to attract a lot of attention. But, you know, that's just the nature of the beast. So you just go forward, start hammering away. And if you take the one with the 2 rockets and the 2 cannon hands, well, you're going to be laying down the hurt. You can probably, say you got a cruiser squadron out there, and you target each ship, you know, say a squadron of 3, you can put a cannon, and a maybe link the rockets on a 3rd one, and you could possibly take out the entire squadron really quickly and just obliterate it. Has been my experience. You're probably going to eliminate 2 ships. Now, if you link them together on this ship, and rockets on this ship, and then cannons on this one, you're going to wipe out 2 cruisers out of the squadron almost immediately. I haven't seen where it hasn't been the case, where this thing will just rip it rip things apart. You know, those risk cannons are basically like little lasers. Like, you just put the tracer fire on them, just like cut the ship in half. You know, type of deal. With the amount of firepower it dishes out. So, and have those, what do you call them? The Freedoms, I think they're called. Little Freedom interceptor robots. Yeah, the little Freedom. You put a squadron of 3 attached to this thing, just to fly around with it. Give it some more ACAC and concussion charges to help it out. And then you got the little gun arms with those little guys work in conjunction. Yeah, it will tear things. You know, you're talking a pretty compact It'd be about 440 points. That's a lot of points in a game. So if you're playing a 3,000, 4,000 point game with the escorts on board, yeah, you're going to be tearing things up really quickly. And they can add a little bit of support to it too. So that's pretty much how I use it. And so we'll be moving on to other nations. We'll maybe come back later and start doing the land aspect of it for the FSA when we get into that mode. And also been thinking about looking at trying to delve into trying to figure out the new system that they have that's coming out for Dystopian Wars, which is totally different from, it's not this game. It's a totally separate type of game. So I've been looking at that one, and we'll just see what happens with that. All right. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Hellcracks out.